Welcome back. The world is one step closer to mass vaccination against COVID-19. The UK has approved the use of Pfizer's RNA vaccine, and people there could start getting it within days.
And so we know this topic is on your mind. We were flooded with questions about the vaccine during our special virtual town hall last night. So we wanted to go back to some of those questions and get you some answers.
Yeah, so joining us, two infectious diseases experts, Dr. Susie Hoda and Dr. Lisa Barrett. Hello to the two of you. And we're going to start with what I think is a really important but also a fascinating question. This one came into us via email from Scott. Dr. Hoda, maybe I'll have you take this one. Once vaccinated, sure, can a person still be a carrier? And I mean, that would be so important because, I mean, if they can, I mean, what does that mean for folks who don't get vaccinated?
Right. So what we know is that it appears as though these vaccines that we've been talking about in the last couple of weeks are highly efficacious at preventing symptomatic infection. But what we don't truly know is how well can they protect people from asymptomatic or mild infections. And it is possible that if you're not as well protected from those asymptomatic or mild infections, that people could continue to transmit or shed the virus as well. And therefore others around them could be able to pick it up from them, even though they themselves will be protected from a real symptomatic infection. So, I mean, I think it's important to keep it in context. Our main goal here is to protect the public from experiencing the impacts of COVID-19. So even a vaccine that protects against symptomatic disease and not so much the transmission will have a big impact on this pandemic.
Right, puts greater importance in your mind on everyone getting the vaccine. Dr. Barrett, can you take this next question? This is coming from Chris.
My concern regarding the COVID-19 vaccine arises from the fact that my wife is immune compromised. She has been told that she cannot tolerate a live virus. I would like to know if any of the proposed vaccines are live viruses.
Okay, so are any of them live viruses or would otherwise pose a danger for folks with compromised immune systems?
Right, so there's many vaccines that are in development at the moment, and 3 that have been particularly relevant to the Canadian context because they're being considered for approval. 2 of them are not live vaccines, so they do not contain live virus. Those are the RNA vaccines, and those ones are not live. And as far as we know at the moment, those are not a risk for people who are immunocompromised. The other vaccine that's being considered is one that contains a live virus. And for the most part, especially given that there are going to be options, that's not at the moment a vaccine that we'd recommend for people who are immunocompromised. Still gaining lots of information, but a great thing that there are options for people who can't take live viral vaccines. So lots of options coming up, and there'll be more in the future.
Right, and I guess at the point where a person would be getting a vaccine, they would know one way or the other which vaccine they're getting.
Absolutely. So this would be when we're talking about rolling out vaccines across the country, not in a clinical trial where you may not know what you're getting,
right,
but this would be when you know what's in the actual vaccine that you're getting on a given day when you go in to see your provider.
Adrienne, we've got lots more questions.
Tons more questions. There's a lot of anxiety at the basis of them, but a lot of engagement. We're hearing from a lot of kids, and thanks to the Kids of Canada for sending in questions. Here's one for you, Dr. Barrett from Araf.
Will Canadians be forced to get the vaccine?
What we know about vaccines in Canada is that we give people choices. We like to put out good information for folks about the benefits, and if there are any, some questions and concerns about vaccines. We don't have any questions or concerns at the moment, and if these get approved, we would highly recommend that people get the vaccine, but we don't make it so that you have to get it. There are certainly populations of folks where we strongly suggest it in long-term care, people who are healthcare workers, or for folks who are in schools and other living situations where you're close to other people, as well as the general public. So great question, but in Canada, we definitely give you choices. We just hope you make some really informed and good ones.
Well, smart kids like Arab will do just that. So here's another one for you, Dr. Hoda. This is from Carl.
Given that we know the vaccine will be delivered next year, my question is, what percentage of the population will need to take the vaccine in order for it to be effective? And will there be additional booster shots required in future years?
So, Dr. Hoda, again, additional booster shots in future years? Good question.
The overall bottom line is the more the better. So whether you're talking about reducing transmission risk at a big public sort of population level, or about the concept of the more people get immunized, the more individual protection there is for all, the more the better. So we would highly recommend that everyone get it. In terms of how long your immunity would last, we don't know yet. There's still a lot to learn about these vaccines coming out, and whether you're going to need booster shots, and if that's going to be something that might vary depending on age or other sort of health conditions that might mean that it won't last as long.
Okay, good answer. Thanks very much.
Doctors, I love that you allow us to tap into your expertise. So thank you so much to Dr. Susie Hoda and Dr. Lisa Barrett.
Okay, and you can keep sending us your questions. We will keep tracking down some answers. Email covid@cbc.ca.